Hi friends, today we are going to see the past year NEET questions for the chapter photosynthesis, and today in this video we will cover part 6, which is the last part of this chapter. So earlier we have completed 5 parts, so kindly have a go through. Now let's begin with the first question here, which was asked in the year 1996. Which one of the following is represented by Calvin cycle? So before we go into the answer, we will discuss what is Calvin cycle. Calvin cycle refers to the light independent reactions in photosynthesis that takes place in the form of 3 steps. Okay, it takes place in the form of 3 steps. Okay, although the Calvin cycle is not directly dependent on light, it is indirectly dependent on light since the necessity of energy carriers, because light is required for ATP and NADP. Okay, NADPH, these two require light. Though it is not fully dependent, partly it is dependent on light. So they are the products of light dependent reaction. So these two things, characters, require light. So this particular Calvin cycle, though it is not fully dependent, it is partly dependent. So what are the 3 stages of the life of the Calvin cycle? One is fixation. So what are the 3 stages? Fixation. Okay, after fixation you have reduction, and after reduction you have regeneration. Okay, now out of the 4 options given here, okay, one is representing Calvin cycle. Yes, the correct answer is reductive carboxylation. In the dark phase of the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide will be reduced to form glucose in the stroma of chloroplast. So making use of ATP and NADPH, so available, which these two things I said they require light. Now this reduction process, it requires reductive carboxylation. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option A. Next question here. The specific characteristic of C4 plant is dash. I think this is also something that we discussed in the earlier parts where we saw something about Kranz anatomy, right? And I already explained to you what is Kranz anatomy, but it's okay, I will explain to you again. What do you mean by Kranz anatomy? It is a specialized structure for C4 plants. It is exclusively for C4 plants. Okay, where the mesophile cells are clustered around the bundle sheath cells in a ring-like fashion, the number of chloroplasts in the bundle sheath cells is more than that of the mesophile cells. So the specific characteristics of C4 plant is the Kranz anatomy, where they speak about the bundle sheath cells. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option C. And here you have C3 versus C4. C3 rice and C4 maize. Wide range spacing, single photosynthetic cell type. So when we talk about C4, you'll have 2 photosynthetic cell type, while C3 will have a single photosynthetic life. So here you can see the difference, right? Here 2 and here it is single. So these just are differences which talk about the Kranz leaf anatomy. Okay, the correct answer is option C. Next question here, which was asked in the year 1994. C4 cycle was discovered by dash. Now this is a standard question and it goes by the answer. The correct answer is Hatch and Slack. C4 cycle was worked by Hatch and Slack in the year 1966, where C4 cycle was discovered, and they found it in the C4 plants. Okay, when I say C4 plants, always remember they represent 4 carbon compounds. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is option A. Okay, easy question. So you just have to remember this. There's nothing no explanation here. It's just something that you need to by heart. Who discovered it? Hatch and Slack. Next question here. Series of reactions. Okay, series of reactions which can convert fatty acids to sugars in plants but not in animals. Okay, they are asking us conversion in plants is okay, but it is not seen in animals. Okay, which will help? Now you're given 4 options here. Krebs cycle, you all know Krebs cycle and glycolysis are the 2 parts that you see even in animals, eukaryotes. But this too, if you see, what do you mean by ornithine cycle and glyoxylate cycle? Okay, before we go into the answer, first let's discuss what is ornithine. Ornithine cycle, it can be described as a cycle of biochemical reactions, and this produces urea. What does it do? It produces urea from ammonia. This cycle occurs in urolytic organisms. The urea cycle converts a high toxic ammonia to urea for excretion. Therefore, this is also not the answer. These three are not the answer. The correct answer is glyoxylate pathway. Okay, several plant structures such as pollen seeds contain fats. Now these fats during germination they have to be expelled from the system. Therefore they will undergo glyoxylate pathway. These fats are hydrolyzed and consumed as a source of energy with this pathway. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Next question here. Which one of the following is a C4 plant? I think you all know the answer because we already saw it in the earlier part. Yes, the right answer is maize and corn. Apart from that, you have also you have a list of other plants which also come under C4. They are sugarcane, sorghum, atriplex. So these are some of the examples of C4 plants. Apart from that, what you need to remember here is they are blessed with 4 carbon compounds, and the anatomy which is exclusively for C4 plant is at Kranz anatomy. The correct answer to this question is option D. Okay, so you have a picture to your right side. C4 plants are a type of plant that uses a specific photosynthesis mechanism in order to avoid photorespiration. Okay, so that is something exclusively that I need to mention for C4 plant. The correct answer is option D. Next question here, which was asked in the year 1992. Formation of ATP in photosynthesis and respiration is an oxidation process which utilizes the energy of dash. So where does it use the energy from? You're given 4 options here. We all know the correct answer is not ferredoxin, carbon dioxide or cytochromes. The correct answer is electrons. Electrons provide energy for the formation of ATP. And when we talk about photosynthesis, we all know we have a path called as ETC, electron transport chain. So the major energy will come from electrons only. Okay, the correct answer to this question is option C, electrons. Electrons provide energy for the formation of ATP in photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, see, these questions seem to be easy because I don't know, maybe it is the last part you're getting all easy questions, but these questions are very simple, but only thing you need to remember the answers. Next question. The enzyme that catalyzes carbon dioxide fixation in C4 plants is dash. So this is again an easy question for you because in the earlier part we talked about C3 plant where we had rub carboxylase for C3 plant, and I also mentioned the enzyme that is exclusive for C4 plant in the early part, if you remember. The correct answer to this question is PEP carboxylase. Okay, in C4 plants the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide is PEP carboxylase. This is the enzyme, but who will accept it? If you see, it will be phosphophenol. Okay, phosphophenol pyruvate. Okay, it will be phosphophenol pyruvate. It combines with carbon dioxide in the presence of PEP carboxylase to form oxaloacetic acid, and that is in case found in mesophile cells. Okay, therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Okay, next question here. The first carbon dioxide acceptor in C4 plants. Oh, this is again they're talking about C4 plants here. So in the last question they spoke about enzyme. Okay, the enzyme which will accept. Here they are asking us the acceptor, and I explained it in the last question itself. It is phosphophenol pyruvate. In C4 plants, the primary acceptor of the carbon dioxide is phosphophenol pyruvate. This will combine with carbon dioxide in the presence of PEP carboxylase to form oxaloacetic acid in the mesophile cells. We saw it in the last question, right? Therefore, this question is also very easy. The answer to this question is option A. Okay, next question. Dark reaction of photosynthesis occur in dash. Now, what do you mean by dark reaction and light reaction? Of course, dark means it will happen in dark. But what are the other things you can explain here? It is a chemical reaction that takes place during the second stage of photosynthesis. Always remember, we talk about the second stage of photosynthesis. Okay, second stage of photosynthesis. What else you can say here? They do not require any light. Since the name itself tells it's dark, it does not require any light. During dark reactions, energy released from ATP drives the fixation of carbon dioxide. They drive the fixation of carbon to form carbon dioxide in and also it forms organic compounds. So dark reaction will occur in dash. It occurs in the stroma outside the photosynthetic lamella. So here it is, see here it does not require light, but we all know ATP and NADPH, they require some light. But still, the energy that is already produced in the first part will be utilized in the second stage, where ATP will help in the carbon fixation, where it will get converted in the form of carbon dioxide plus organic compounds. Okay, this is a very important point here to be noted. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option C. Next question. Which technique has helped in investigation of Calvin cycle? Okay, so this you may not know, but I'll tell you what the answer is. So we all know what is Calvin cycle, right? It is a biochemical process and it is important for photosynthesis and all that we know. But which technique helps us in the investigation of Calvin cycle is radioactive isotope technique. So it was in the year 1945 into 55. Okay, Calvin traced a pathway of carbon fixation, and he traced that pathway using this technique, radioactive isotope technique. So what can you say about radioactive isotope technique? Any idea? They use radioactive elements here, right? Radioactive isotope technique. What is isotope here? See, there are some elements which are called as radioactive isotopes. If you had studied clearly about various other streams in chemistry, you must know about this. A radioactive isotope is also known as radioisotope. There are many names for it. They are several species of the same chemical element with different masses, whose nuclei will be unstable and dissipate excess energy by spontaneously. So what do they actually do? You don't have to think so much. They emit radiations. Okay, they emit radiations. We all know that they emit radiations. Now what do you mean by radioactive isotope technique? They will use these radioactive isotopes to trace certain pathway. It will illuminate light, right? You can trace the pathway. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is radioactive isotope technique, which is option C. So this is a technique which is very descriptive, where you use radioactive isotopes and they measure, they trace, and they help you to analyze anything that you want to analyze and see. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option C. Next question here. During monsoon, the rice crop of eastern states of India show lesser yield due to the limitation factor of. This is an easy question. When we talk about rice, is it C4 or C3? During monsoon, the rice crop of eastern states, they show lesser yield due to the limiting factor of light. C3, in the earlier question we saw maize, corn, all these are C4 plants. C3 plants, they actually require less or a minimal amount of light. So the yield is slowly decreased due to the presence of light, according to the law of limiting factors given by Blackman. So who gave it? Blackman. Okay, when a process depends on a number of factors which are separate and the rate of process is limited by the pace of the slowest factor, so the rate yield highly depends upon the light. Photorespiration rate also you can say. Photorespiration, where the respiration rate depends upon the light system. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option B, light. So here if you see, during monsoon the intensity of the light will be less, so the rate of photosynthesis will become less. Therefore, the yield will also reduce. We all know for C3 plant, photosynthesis, photorespiration rate has to be high. So what happens here, when photosynthesis slowly starts to decrease, the yield will also decrease. Okay, the next question here. Kranz autonomy is typically for dash. Easy question, right? We all know Kranz autonomy is typically for C4 plants. Okay, yeah, that's what they've given here. Option A is the answer. With two distinct chloroplasts containing cells, mesophile and bundle sheet cells. So exclusively something that you find in this anatomy is the bundle sheet cells. Okay, that sheath sometimes acts as protection also. Okay, so they talk in reference to leaf, especially leaves, and sometimes stems also. Okay, therefore the correct answer is option A. Next question here. The substrate of photorespiration is dash. I think by now you have guessed the answer. When we talk about photorespiration, photo means light. So here it is light dependent, right? Light dependent uptake of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide in C3 photosynthetic cell is called as photorespiration. So what is photorespiration and how can you define it? It is of course a light dependent phase, and the uptake of oxygen and the release of carbon dioxide in the C3 photosynthesis cycle is called as photorespiration. So the main ingredient or the main substrate of photorespiration is glycolate, right? We already discussed a lot about glycolate. It is also used in medication, skincare products, and so many other important functions it has. Now this glycolate is a chief metabolite in photorespiration, and also it is a substrate. Other important metabolites are some amino acids, like you have glycine, then you have serine. All these are some of the other substrates which are found in trace amounts along with glycolate. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Fine. Next question here. In C4 plants, Calvin cycle operates in dash. Again, this is an easy question for you. We all know it is obviously not mesophiles, right? It should be bundle sheath. Either it is stroma or it should be grana. In C4 plants, that is a specialized plants for better carbon dioxide assimilation found in the hot environment. So they are the plants which survive even in higher temperatures. They have a characteristic leaf anatomy, and that is resembled with the help of Kranz anatomy, and we also know that. Apart from that, you have a special feature which is called as bundle sheath cells. What is it called as? Bundle sheath cells. And I also said it is used as a protection or a covering or an extra coat. So here mesophile cells are located very near to the bundle sheath cells, and they are the site of C4 cycle. Okay, which is called the C4 cycle path, I mean the site for it, the bundle sheath cells. Okay, and that is the carbon dioxide will be first fixed as 4-carbon compound oxaloacetic acid by the action of PEP carboxylase. The second carboxylation event will occur in the stroma of the chloroplast, and that is associated with the bundle sheath of chloroplast. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option A, stroma of bundle sheath chloroplast. So stroma is actually there. You do not require any grana. Okay, grana will have chlorophyll in it. When it comes to a cycle, when it comes to C4 especially, we talk about stroma. Okay, next question here. Carbon dioxide joins the photosynthetic pathway in dash. So we all know the process of photosynthesis requires light. Yes, right? Photosynthesis happens during the day, while carbon dioxide, where oxygen will be taken in and carbon dioxide will be given, will happen during the night. So photosynthesis is completely into two phases. What are the two phases that you know? One is light and the other is dark reaction. We all know this, right? In dark phase, which you also call it as black man phase, where the carbohydrates are synthesized from carbon dioxide in the stroma of the chloroplast, which will use, what will they use? I already explained about this. See, though they happen in the dark reaction, you will not have any external source from it to come as an energy. So ATP and NADPH will serve as the energy source for this conversion. What do you get from the dark reaction? Carbon dioxide and organic compounds. Therefore, carbon dioxide joins the photosynthetic pathway in the dark reaction. Okay, easy question. Next question here. NADP plus is reduced to NADPH in dash. Okay. Now, you're given 4 options here: photosystem 1, photosystem 2, Calvin cycle, and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now, it is obviously not photosystem 1 and 2 because NADP plus will remain as such. So the correct answer is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. It is not only connected with ATP synthesis but also in the production of NADPH. Okay. Apart from that, you also have this. It involves two photosystems. What are the two photosystems it involves? PS1 and PS2. Okay. So one thing to be noted here is these two processes do not happen separately. That is why it is associated with non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Apart from that, what are the things that you have to know about non-cyclic photophosphorylation? What is photophosphorylation? See, when I say non-cyclic, okay, let's take cyclic first, then only you will understand. The form of light reactions. In another form, the light reactions, when there is involvement of light, you call it as cyclic photophosphorylation. When it is non-cyclic, it is the process which is described in which the electrons flow in a line. That is, they form water. What do they form? They form water to NADPH. Okay, so this is seen in non-cyclic. When I talk cyclic, you will have only ATP. Only ATP will be synthesized in cyclic. Now when I say non-cyclic, NADP is getting converted into NADPH. You have the production of water and NADPH. Okay. Otherwise, non-cyclic photophosphorylation, they involve two systems, 1 and 2, and does not involve the reduction of NADP+. When light is absorbed by photosystem 2, the excited electrons will enter into the electron transport chain to produce ATP. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D, non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Here you need to remember only two things. When you talk about cyclic, they produce ATP. When you talk about non-cyclic, they produce water and NADPH along with ATP. Okay, therefore the correct answer is option D. Fine. So with this we complete the chapter photosynthesis. We've covered all the parts in this video. So kindly have a go through so that this will help you in your exams. So we will meet in the next new chapter. Thank you.